Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. Timestamps are located in the description box below if you want to get directly into the Dynamite review. Otherwise, fuck with me for a moment. Yo, so this is super duper random. This has nothing to do with wrestling. I just seen this video, right? By Charlie, Moist Critical, Penguin Zero, whatever you want to call him, right? And he put out this video saying that he was going to turn off subs and turn off donations and all this other kind of stuff, right? And then he put out a second video explaining, going more into depth, why he decided to do this, right? And, you know, hey, whatever he wants to do, that's his own personal opinion, that's his own personal perspectives. It was something else that really caught my attention, though, when I looked in the comment section, right? And the amount of people who were praising Charlie about this decision and other people arguing amongst each other in the comment section. One of the more prevalent arguments that I was hearing was Charlie was making the correct decision because, I don't know, like, it's bad to make millions of dollars. It's bad to make billions of dollars. And I never really understood that argument. That argument is so reductive to me because it's like, okay, what is hurting you personally that a person is making a bunch of money or has wealth or anything like that? Like, I hear this argument all the time where I hear people say things like, oh, that's enough money. You don't need all that money. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, you just sound like you're a jealous, envious fucking loser that I guarantee you would not take that same precedent you're setting on somebody else and put it upon yourself. And even if you did do that, that's your decision, okay? Like, it's not bad to make money. Like, it kills me how many times I see people talk about people and their wealth, kill the rich, do all this to the rich, and all this other kind of shit. Like, I don't understand that argument, because, and the worst part about it is they always coincided with some bad faith ass take by suggesting, for an example, like, oh, there are people out there who are doctors or, you know, who are, you know, paramedics or people who are, you know, fry cooks and stuff like that, and environments where they get paid little to no money compared to like someone out there who's a entertainer, right? Teachers are paid low salaries and all this other kind of shit. And here you have someone who's sitting on their, you know, computer and they're, you know, live streaming the people and making a fool out of themselves, and therefore they don't deserve their money. It's such an ass comment because it's like, I don't understand. Like, what if you cap off that person's money, right? What if we actually go with your dumbass logic? Which, by the way, it's always the people who talk about totalitarianism or like fascism or, you know, like socialism and all this other kind of stuff, share the wealth, all these kinds of people, right? But at the same time, they'll support someone like a fucking Hassan, I shock my dog for a living piker, who all he does is flaunts his fucking wealth. Motherfucker has a big ass house on the goddamn hill arguing with people about why they have way too much money. But I digress, though. I don't understand, like, your logic, because, okay, let's just say the teachers and the paramedics and the ambulance people and the restaurant people and all these people, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, you take all the money away from the billionaires and the millionaires and you try to put them on equal platform with these people right here, and now you just made everybody poor. Like, you didn't solve any fucking problems. That's the problem that I have with equity. Like, equity doesn't really solve any problems. You just take people from the top and then bring them down to meet the standards of someone just to say, here, now you're equal. Okay, but like, you're taking someone from the fucking top and you're bringing them down. How is that good in any shape or form? Because you're, I don't know, like, weirded out by the disparity of, you know, who happens to be on top and who happens to be on bottom. Like, it's stupid logic also, because, like, okay, take Charlie for an example, right? People saying that he has way too much money for streaming and all this other kind of stuff, and this goes, you know, all across the streaming realms, right? You can throw in XQC, you could throw in the Kai Cenat guy. Like, one individual donating $1, for an example, because of how he feels about his fellow streamer, and millions of people following suit, and then they also donate $1, is gonna make that guy a millionaire. But each individual person didn't break the bank, so like, they're still gonna be a millionaire because that one person who donated $1, there are other people who feel the exact same way as that other person, and they also donated $1. Like, that's just the consequences or rewards, I guess, for being famous. Why should a person have to suffer? And that goes to, like, you know, athletes and celebrities all the same. Like, no one should have to, I don't know, like, not get the maximum of what they deserve. Yes, deserve. Because you're fucking jealous and you're sitting out here pocket watching people suggesting that they shouldn't have this much money because what, you don't have this much money? Because like I said, at the end of the day, if you're going to suggest that there are people out there suffering, like, okay, they're still going to suffer, and now this person is going to suffer by losing more money. Like, you're not winning in the end of the day. You just want everybody to be equally as miserable as your miserable ass. But sorry, that was a quick rant. I had to get that off my chest because I just got finished watching that video and I seen the comments and it really, really pissed me off. Like, I can't stress this enough. I really, 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 really hate progressive people. I don't even hate progressive policy, right? Because when I think of progressive policy, I immediately think of like people like Theodore Roosevelt, right? Or even Franklin D. Roosevelt, if you think of how welfare got reformed around him. And you have these losers nowadays and they're progressive, socialist, communist mindset who have overtaken progressivism, and they made it this whole thing where it's like they're just jealous. Like the whole identity of being a progressive today coinciding with like the Ilhan Omars and the AOCs of the world, like it's all, I'm not even gonna say Bernie Sanders. I don't even think Bernie Sanders is that fucked up. It's really just like these new generation progressives who are in reality just communists. Like, you people, like, you ruin your own name. Like, progressivism isn't even inherently bad. It may have its faults, but so does capitalism. But like, seeing these assholes take the platform and run it directly into the ground because, in all honesty, they're just jealous fucking losers who decided to create a community, it's just so pathetic to me. But yeah, sorry, little small rant. Let's get into the show. Okay, that was rather decent. I like the promo, that they were running with Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. I would have done things a little bit differently, which, by the way, quick little reminder, I will be here on Saturday to review Wrestle Dream, because you just have to know I'm not gonna miss the Jon Moxley Darby Allin match, because I know it's gonna be some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen from a spot standpoint, and I can't miss that. I can't miss that. I have to see the fuckery. I got to. It's like fleas attracted to shit, right? I gotta see the fuckery, man. I gotta see the fuckery. But I will say though, it's a shame, because everything that they're gonna do in that match, the jackass styles that they're going to commit to in that match, is going to take away from every bit of storytelling that they were actually doing right here to build up to the match, right? Like, I like the dialogue, I like the seriousness. The only thing that I don't like, and I feel like this is a problem in professional wrestling overall, is just that it's just way too overproduced. Like, this didn't come off as a fight. Darby Allin going to the convention to blindside Moxley and beat the fuck out of him, that actually seemed real. I like stuff like that. I like when interactions like that happen. That feels like it's professional wrestling, right? That's how you build something. That's solid. That was dope shit. This right here, this would have been so much better if you didn't have the I don't know, like how do you say, the cinematography? You didn't have any of that. You didn't have any of the effects, the drama music in the background. Like, just have two guys. I even like the setting, where it looks like they're talking to each other, like they're in jail or something, like through a glass window. I even like that setting, right? What I personally would have done is, this is gonna sound crazy, but I would have had Bryan Danielson be a moderator for this. I would have had him playing the role of Jim Ross and sitting between a Darby Allin and a Jon Moxley, right? And the whole thing would have been like, not necessarily putting all the attention on Bryan Danielson, but more so, it's supposed to be, this is how I would have done it. Like, you have Darby, you have Jon Moxley, they can't touch each other before the pay-per-view, or the match is called off, or they're suspended, or whatever gimmick you want to lie on it. And the whole time with Jon Moxley talking to Darby Allin, to get underneath his skin without having to touch him, he's actually reflecting off of how he ended Bryan Danielson's in-ring career, right? And the entire time as he's doing this, he's antagonizing Bryan Danielson. He's antagonizing Bryan Danielson. He's getting underneath Bryan Danielson's skin. And Bryan Danielson looks like he's the one that really, really wants to attack Jon Moxley. And it's Darby Allin having to hold him back. And him getting in Jon Moxley's face and saying, "I will see you on Saturday," type shit. I would have done it like that personally. And then you wouldn't even have to have like the attack from Pac like they inevitably did at the end of the promo segment. But you know, it is what it is. I felt like this was a little bit too overly complicated for what it should have actually achieved. Nevertheless, though, the match is going to happen on Saturday. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it in the sense that, like, I know I'm going to have a long rant, and I'm prepared for it. And there is a dark, I don't know, side of me that sees, it's like a very morbid side of me that is very curious as to the fuckery they're going to present in this match. And from that standpoint, I do want to see it. But like I said, it's a shame because they did this whole promo right here. In the end, Pac came inside, blindsided Darby Allin, busted him open, threw him up against the window, all this shit. It was cool. I didn't like the overproduction, but nevertheless, it was still solid work. And then Jon Moxley walking out of the, you know, the I don't know, like the family room door when you leave jail and the door closing behind him and shit. It was lit. But I know it's inevitably going to get overshadowed by the match in itself. Speaking of goofy shit, kind of going back because I'm kind of going out of sync here. Earlier, you had Tony Storm and Chris Statlander, and they were like having this goofy interview with them, taking turns taking off clothing like they're getting ready to fight. Before Renee Patty Cake told them to stop and, you know, what they want to get off their chest, go ahead and say it right then and there, which they both went back and forth. And Tony invited her out to the ring, and then they did this shit where they've been doing the past couple of weeks where they fight randomly inside the ring. It just comes off as really goofy. I don't like it at all. I hate this feud. I don't buy Chris Statlander as champion. I feel like you did it just to have some type of headline coming out of the pay-per-view or something like that. None of it actually feels authentic, you know, but, you know, it was stupid. I didn't like it. They both started fighting in the ring. Tony Storm had the opportunity to take Chris Statlander out, but instead she kissed her on the forehead and said she wants to do it inside the ring on Saturday when she takes the championship away from her. Well, she didn't say it like that, but that's typically, you know, that's kind of what you got out of the whole segment. It was dumb. I didn't like anything about it. It was goofy. And then we had this tag team match with the Hurt Syndicate and the GOA. It is what it is. Although they did say the GOA, you know, with Shelton Benjamin being pinned, this is the first time the Hurt Syndicate was ever pinned on TV, or pinned at all. That's at least the way they made it sound. So that's pretty cool, I guess. I'd probably like to fact check that. They've been around for a year and they've never been pinned? Or did it say pinned on television? As a matter of fact, what is the card looking like for, let me look that up real quick. What is the card looking like for Wrestle Dream? Hang on for a second. Oh, it's in St. Louis? Okay, so at least I know it's going to be at nighttime. Thank God. Let's see. Darby and John in the I Quit match. We know about that. Hangman and Samoa Joe. Okay, World Championship. Tony Storm and Chris Statlander. Okay. Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks. Which, by the way, earlier on the night, Jack Perry did, or I guess Kenny Omega maybe confronted Jack Perry. I don't know who confronted who. But essentially, he has a match. The Jurassic Express, they're like in a 6-man tag match against the Don Callis family later on tonight. And Kenny Omega told Jack Perry if he really wants to prove his allegiance, do it tonight type shit. So, okay. We have Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe for the AEW TNT Championship. Bandito and Brody King versus Konosuke Takeshita and Okada for the Tag Team Championships. Okay. Jamie Hayter versus Tekla. Right? And the Hurt Syndicate versus The Demand in the Trios match. So I don't understand though. They're doing a trios match at the pay-per-view, but they did the no disqualification match already on the show last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever the match was. Doesn't that seem a little bit reductive? Whatever, man. It's not like we haven't seen that in professional wrestling before. Oh man, but you know, decent opener, I guess. If you want to count the Jon Moxley Darby stuff as an opener, probably not. I wouldn't really technically count that as an opener. But solid stuff nonetheless. The other two segments, or maybe three, I could have done without though. But right now we do have Claudio taking on looks like Roderick Strong. I've been keeping my eye on a match, so we'll see whether or not Darby's gonna get involved in this, and this is gonna push this match forward. We got 3 hours of this fucking show, so strap in, folks. I didn't even know it was 3 hours, but the consequences of being a commentary channel, right? So let's continue on. Yeah, see, this is my problem with like 3 hour shows, right? This is why I hated Raw and SmackDown when they were 3 hours. It's just way too much filler. It's way too much filler. You guys don't have that many characters or stars to carry a show that's 3 hours long. And, you know, you revert and you resort on the wrestling aspect, and that's only going to do so much. Like I said, we see this shit every other week. You know what I mean? And the same thing was kind of done within this last hour or so, right? Like the last time, that excerpt that I just ended on the last segment, I finished that vocal recording like around 8:40. It's now 9:20. 9:20. They dedicated 40 minutes to 2 matches with nothing substantial happening in between both. Nothing at all. That's a problem, man. That's a problem. I feel like people focus so much on the wrestling. Like I see so many people on social media who do things that they time how long the matches last on Raw and SmackDown, and they say things like, oh, Raw only had, you know, this many matches versus this many promo segments within this allotted amount of time. And, you know, I understand when, you know, there's way too many promos versus the wrestling. I get that, right? In the end of the day, it is a wrestling show. But at the same time, there's also an entertainment value that's attached to that as well, outside of just the wrestling. Hence in WWE, the E. There's a wrestling, yeah, and there's an E for entertainment. And you have to focus on that as well. And you have to give people reasonings to want to care about the matches that they're watching when they're just so randomly happening like that, and there's just nothing happening in between. It just kind of kills the momentum for the shows, man. I mean, maybe there are some people out there who are actual psychopaths who can sit there, you know, hours on end just watching nothing but wrestling happening with nothing in between, no character development at all. But I don't know. For me, I can't do that. I can't. Like, look at this. They're coming back on it now, and it looks like it's Jamie Hayter going directly into a match, and it's like, dude, you just had 3 straight matches with nothing happening in between. Like, what's the actual story that's taking precedent right now over everything else that's going to continue throughout the show? Like, there has to be a main focal point. I say this all the time, but like when you watch regular television shows, there is like no focus directly on the side characters throughout the show, and you put the main character in the first 5 minutes, never to be seen again throughout the entire show. That's just asinine to me. That's just asinine to him. People are like, well, Devontae, the actual aspect of wrestling, especially a wrestling show, is going to be completely different than the actual television shows you're comparing it to. Why, though? Why? If you follow a legitimate TV format, then these shows wouldn't be so goddamn boring. Not to mention, when you do shows in that manner, all you do is take away the consequences from the actual matches that technically should be that way going into the pay-per-view. The matches that we get on these television shows should be happening on the pay-per-view. It's not to say that they should be voided of wrestling in general. Like I've always said, I'm okay with 1 or 2 matches that are really, really good happening, right? One more in particular, the main event and maybe the opener or the match directly after the promo, right? Or directly in the middle of the card. But when all these matches just kind of run together back to 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 back with nothing of promos or anything as far as prolonging the show to give you a reasoning to want to keep up with it towards the end, like it's just boring. It's boring. Like, you just had this match with Claudio Castagnoli versus Roderick Strong. There was no sighting of Darby Allin. There was no Jon Moxley nearby to promote the match. It was just an exhibition between 2 guys that I don't give a shit about in the grand scheme of things, right? Right, and then you have this match right here, the 6-man tag match with Kenny Omega and, you know, Jungle Boy and fucking Luchasaurus taking on the Don Callis family. And it's like, if you're going to sit here and tell me that the story is taking place within the match, I feel like that's not enough. That's not enough. That's lacking substance. Like, you can have stories outside of the match pushing forward a narrative throughout the show here and there, and then paying it off with more storytelling in the match in itself. To tell me the payoff is the relevant stuff that should be happening throughout the show, but there is no relevant stuff happening throughout the show. It's all taking place in the match in itself. That's not enough for me, man. It's not enough to go out there and wrestle and tell me to focus strictly on the wrestling. You can have two things at once. You can have both things. Both things can coincide with each other. You can have awesome matches, folks, and you can have stories that take place throughout the show, developing characters and getting people to connect more with these people going into the matches. Right? So it doesn't feel like a chore for some people to watch this shit. And look, for me, it is a chore, right? It's a chore. It's absolutely a chore because I'm reviewing the show. Had I not been reviewing the show, do you think I'd be keeping up with this shit? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of the good things for me about working on Tuesdays, or more particularly on Mondays and Fridays, is that I don't have to sit there and watch WWE all day because WWE fucking sucks right now. You know what I mean? I wish I had the same excuse for Dynamite, but I have to review this show, and it would be nice if you gave me more of a reason to want to watch it outside of just putting on match after match after match after match after match, exhibition after exhibition after exhibition, the same type of flow, the same type of choreographed stuff, the same type of shit, the same type of pacing, and then telling me that I have to accept that because the W in AEW stands for wrestling. The W in WWE stands for wrestling. Sure, whatever, man. Whatever. But then you get mad when ratings and viewership numbers hit all-time lows. Well, I wonder why, right? I wonder why. But continuing on with the show, we still got like, 2.5 hours left of this shit? No, probably like an hour and a half. More like an hour and a half left. Continuing on. Oh my god, bro. This show is so ass. Oh my lord, this is so fucking ass. So now we finally made it to the third hour, or I guess, can you even call it a third hour? I mean, technically it's Collision, which I guess I already made it this far. Plus, I didn't have much to talk about with Dynamite, so I kind of have to fill this out a little bit. I typically do Dynamite interviews for 35 to 45 minutes. Gotta pad it out somehow, right? Maybe there might be something that might happen of consequence on this show. Can I take a minute though? Because again, they're doing another match. It's been literally 4 or 5 straight fucking matches. No deviation, no plot twists, no plots in general, bro. It's just match. This is so boring. How do you do this, man? How do you people do this shit is beyond me. Oh boy, looks like, and it's Wheeler Yuta of all fucking people who are about to wrestle. Can I take a couple of minutes to rant for a little bit though about this whole Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page stuff? This, on one hand, you want to say it was the main event technically of Dynamite. It was the last segment, but then at the same time, it's like it's not. It wasn't, because I mean, they're still kind of doing the show. So it's I don't even know if I want to qualify it as being the main event or the main focus on the show. Not to mention, they didn't do anything throughout the show regardless. As a matter of fact, do I want to fucking do a Collision review? I don't even think I want to, bro. Hang on, what is on the card for? Let me see something real quick. AEW, Dynamite. Let's see, tonight. I'm gonna look this up real quick and see what the card is. Let's see. Hopefully, because if there's nothing legitimately going on the third hour, do I even want to watch this shit? Let's see. Kyle O'Reilly versus Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta against Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly. I guess that's the match that's going on right now. Megan Bayne versus Harley Cameron. Is this it? Is there nothing else going on? I'm looking up and down the card right now to see. Let's see. No, there's actually nothing going on. I'm looking up and down the card. This is, how do you put something out like this? How do you put a product out like this and actually say to yourself that this is good? How do you do something like this and actually think to yourself that this is something worth purchasing as far as the upcoming pay-per-view is considered? This is bad, bro. This is actually fucking shit. Yeah, nah, man. I'm gonna just end it with this segment right here. There's actually nothing to talk about with Collision. I don't see any matches that really tell me, or segments or promos, nothing. It's more matches. Watch this match and matches, match. But like I said, I want to rant a little bit about the Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page shit, because it's like, why do you hate your world champion so much? And I'm not talking about specifically just Hangman Adam Page. He's just in the long list of superstars who wear that championship belt. And this has got to be the most inconsequential World Heavyweight Championship I've ever seen. Like, even more inconsequential than the World Heavyweight Championship during the early 2010s, when it was treated like an Intercontinental Championship, right? Like when CM Punk or John Cena had the WWE Championship and they gave the World Championship to like Sheamus or Big Show or Christian, and it just felt like it felt like an Intercontinental Championship belt, even though it was considered a World Heavyweight Championship, right? That's what people had so much grievances over when, Dolph Ziggler eventually won it when he cashed in his championship belt, because it just didn't really feel like there was any consequences attached to it, knowing a guy like CM Punk was still holding the WWE Championship, right? Or I guess at that time it would have been probably John Cena. I feel even worse, and I never thought I'd actually say this. I actually feel even worse about the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. You have a pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. You would think you would do everything in your power to make the belt feel relevant. You would think you would do everything in your power to make everything building up to this championship match feel like it's must-see. Like you're selling $50 for this show. No, right? Between $40 to $50 if you're going to order it on HBO, I guess, Max or whatever, if they're still doing that. Like, what makes you believe putting out content like this, and this is supposedly supposed to be your main event? I presume this is supposed to be your main event. I'd even argue right about now, you probably could get away with doing Moxley and fucking Darby in the main event, because again, the only credential to the fact that this could be a main event is the fact that there is a world title on the line. But you take away the world championship, and this match has no business. It has no business at all being a contender to even be considered to be the main event of a pay-per-view. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you tell me. And maybe it's because I missed Dynamite last week. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't watch Collision. But what gives any reasoning for this match to be a main event? Like, what did they do? Were there anything significant or substantial that happened during this entire process? Like, is Samoa Joe even a heel? I don't think so. It didn't really feel that way, especially after, the post-match stuff with this. But then you'll have people sit back and they'll tell you things like you have to gaslight yourself and just pretend as if what you're watching at the moment is actually good. Honestly, I want to know, even for the most hardcore AEW marks out there, okay, take everything out of consideration in regards to the quality of the matches that you're, intending on seeing this upcoming Saturday. Take out of consideration everything that you've been seeing these past couple of weeks, right? I'm even outright telling you that I do find the programming overall to be more consistent than Raw and SmackDown. I haven't deviated from what I said. I still believe that to a certain degree. Now, this show isn't a good example, and quite frankly, the past couple of shows aren't good examples. It's not even so much that AEW is a good show, or Dynamite is not a good show. It's just the fact that Raw and SmackDown are just so dog shit, right? Now, I will say Raw was probably better than Dynamite this week because of everything that went down on it, so I'll give credit where credit is due, and the verdict is still out, obviously, for SmackDown. But there's no way you can actually sit back and tell me that this was a good show. And on top of that, this is supposed to be a go-home show. I remember growing up and watching go-home shows were such a treat. It was like a pre-pay-per-view before the pay-per-view even started, right? Because it's where all the stuff is going to come to fruition. It's where you're going to reach your climax to get people to want to tune in to the show. All the crazier shits typically happen. Like the story-driven stuff happened right after the pay-per-views to either continue a story, pique a story's interest, or create a new story. And the climax or the pinnacle of the feud typically took place on the go-home show. And we just don't have any of that. We don't have any of those standards. And like I said, with WWE, they don't have a soul anymore, right? They're just a corporation. They're just a business, right? Right? It's all about making money for them. Credit where credit is due. You got to do what you got to do as a business, right? But strictly speaking, as a fan, it's fucking horrible. And here you have AEW, who have no such incentive compared to what WWE has at the moment. And it's like, they're just failing miserably at that. You can capitalize on how terrible WWE is right now, and instead you're going to compete with them as far as how bad your shows are right now. The quality is horrendous. There was not one solid good thing I could say on the show that kept me satisfied. I think the closest is maybe Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, but A, that was in the beginning of the show, and B, like I said, there were some things I would have done differently, but I guess objectively that was probably the best thing on the show. Everything was legitimately filler, right? Everything was cringy as fuck. The Mercedes Moné promo was absolute fucking cringe, and it didn't set up anything. Right? You look throughout the show and it's just wrestling. Like, I want to know, even from the AEW diehards out there, did you like this show? Like, be honest with yourselves. Truly, be honest with yourselves. Did you like this show? Is this a good representation of AEW? If you were to show an outsider AEW, would you consider showing them this show and saying this is what AEW is all about? I don't think you would. I think, quite frankly, it'd be the complete opposite. I think you'd go out of your way to not show people the show and dissuade people from watching the show, and you actually bring up something out of the archives and show it to them from like 3 or 4 years ago. At least then you could say that's when AEW was in its prime. Look at everything that's happening, bro. Look at everything that they're doing with their show, and you sit here and you tell me with a straight fucking face that the representation of AEW stems off of the show. You can't do that, not with a straight face. And if you can't randomly pick a show, if you can't look at the current show that week and say to yourself, this is a good representation of the product, then what the fuck was the point of the product existing right there that night? You should always put on your A game. Always. That's why WWE's in the shape that it's in right now. It has no incentive to want to put on the A game. It knows it's so far ahead, and it knows that the other, opponent is so dog shit that why waste energy running when we can walk and still be faster than the guy that's chasing us? They need to get it together. They need to get it together, bro. People are spending money, hard-earned money on your product. That's why you existed as an alternative to WWE. Like I've always said, you doing what WWE is doing and turning it up to 10 is not being different than WWE. It's doing the same thing and turning it up to 10. I have no favorites in AEW. I have no reasoning to want to tune into your shows. There is no cliffhanger coming off of this. What the fuck happened in the main event tonight between Joe and Heyman to make me want to purchase the pay-per-view outside of the fact that I have to review it? Do they ever ask themselves this question, or is it really just a bubble of a bunch of marks who just hate WWE, and that's what keeps them together? It's just hating WWE. We have a place where we can go to that's at least behind WWE. We can congregate amongst each other and shit on WWE, because outside of that, there's no way in hell you sit back and you tell me with a straight face that this is something that you can say is holding you together as a community. This product right here, this show was absolute ass. I will actually say this is arguably the worst AEW show the entire year, which is saying something. And this is the go home show. I don't know what to tell you guys, man. You sit back and you gaslight people to like your show, and they actually go and they give it a shot, and then they see shit like this, and you constantly keep enabling people and making them think to themselves that this is something that should be watched, this is something that should be gone after, this is something that should be sought after. And then you sit back and you look at the viewership numbers, and I say once again, you wonder why. You wonder why the show's in the shape that it's in right now. Look at the product that you just put out. This is not even so much of a rant. I know I called this a rant, but this is a coming to Jesus moment. And the sad part about it is, I'm a small channel. In fact, you can argue and say that I'm kind of screaming into the void. If at best I'm preaching to the choir. At worst, I'm screaming in the void. No one's gonna hear what I'm saying. No one's gonna care what I'm saying. I'm not even here to say that I should be the architect as far as the voice holding the sign and preaching all this. I'm just saying, I wish someone would hear what I'm saying and actually pick this up, give it to a bigger channel, and explode it. So maybe someone like Tony Khan can actually hear these words. If not for me, I don't care who says it, just someone with a voice. Tell this guy, reason with this guy, say something to this guy. I want wrestling to thrive. I want AEW to thrive. I want to be able to tune into these shows and actually watch it and say to myself, I feel satisfied. No different than how I felt when I was a child. Hell, no different than how I felt when I was an adult and I was watching the whole thing take place with the initial Bloodline story when Sami Zayn joined. That was quality television, and that was just 3 years ago. They don't have any of that. Yet they'll sit here and gaslight you and tell you that they have a great program. No, they don't. No, they don't. No matter what they tell you, no, they don't. It's shit television made for marks. But I guess you could say overall that's what wrestling is today, right? Shit television made for marks. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I thought about it. No, I'm not gonna watch the third hour. There's no reason. Why? I don't have any reason to want to watch it. I don't want to sit back and have to watch. What's the card? Huh? What match did I see so far? That Megan Bayne and Harley Cameron? Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, man. Oh, but Devontae, stay tuned. You might watch a 5-star match. Oh, like I haven't seen a 5-star match last week? Huh? A 5-star match strictly based off the athleticism of the wrestlers? We get that every other fucking week. For the love of God. I talked about this for like 15 minutes. So let me get the hell up out of here, man. As always, my name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smark, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P, Ice. What a waste of fucking time this was.